Hello, you guys. This is Politic Graham. Thank you guys for coming in. And as of now, it is 54% that says no, there will not be any peace. And 46% says yes, there will be peace in the live chat. The poll that I have in the chat right now, this is Politic Graham. And thank you guys for coming in. Now, today, I want to make this brief in regards to what's been going on in the news and in the world today, I will say. But my whole thing is this. There has been so much mess going on and so much division going on when it comes down to Republicans, Democrats are just so far to the left, to the right. I mean, Donald Trump is still calling someone Pocahontas. If you know, you know. Okay. And even when it comes down to a gentleman by the name Senator Chuck Schumer, if you guys had been watching what Donald Trump called him, he said that Senator Schumer is not a quote unquote, he's not allegedly Jewish. I mean, I didn't say it, he did. I don't want to get into it, okay? But we know that he is Jewish. You know, we welcome everybody. We don't discriminate anyone. But it was just kind of, that's just to kind of give you a little bit of the taste of what is going on, when it comes down to division, when it comes down to people not having, when it comes down to people not even having, the same, at least agree to disagree. Where we are now at this point, we have people not standing up. And in the case of Ellen DeGeneres, okay, comedian, she as well as her wife moved from the United States altogether, moved to England, okay, back in the fall of last year. And then you have Rosie O'Donnell. She comes back into the headlights, into the name, I'll say, of politics, because during a press conference when Donald Trump spoke with Ireland, an official from Ireland this week, her name was mentioned. And come to find out, she left. She left America herself January. I want to make sure this is correct. She specifically moved, her and her wife left America January the 15th, 5 days before Donald Trump officially was sworn in. I want people to think about that, right? She has left America, and her reason for leaving America, she said this. She says, and I quote, when it is safe for all Americans to have equal rights, that's when we will come back. And my thing is this, and I'm a very blunt, very transparent person, right? I love my country. I love America, right? This is where I was born. These are my personal roots, okay? When it comes down to my family, it is what it is, right? But for somebody to say that they are just leaving America, right? Because of her words, I want to make sure I repeat this. She says, when it is safe for all Americans to have equal rights, that's when we will come back. And I want people to understand this. There has been people rights taken away. People feel they have not have been treated of justice for decades. But it's really odd to me that as soon as Donald Trump gets into office, now people want to just abandon their country, because that is what you're doing when you just move like that. Because I want people to understand this, right? I want people to really understand this. When you leave, right, and you're acting like you're taking a stand for that country that you came from, you're abandoning that country. And why do I say that? Because now let's fast forward to what's going on in the news, right? Now let's break it down. Let's break it down. And I want people to understand this. When multimillionaires such as Rosie O'Donnell, Ellen DeGeneres, when this is their lead, they have left the country. They have left America. But we're going to break it down what is in the news today, right? This week so far. Okay? The first thing, government here set to shut down by midnight. Lawmakers are still in a disagreement. Senators, okay, Democrats, that is, they have stated that they want a long-term deal that would not pass any bill passed by Republicans to avoid a government shutdown. Democrats a bill will a bill will allow Trump administrate administration and Elon to continue to cut domestic funds without Congress approval. So they're saying this, right? Here, this is what Democrats are saying, right? They're like, we don't want a short-term fund. We don't want a short-term bill. We want a long-term bill, right? And they're saying, look at what's going on now in the present. Look at what's going on. And my whole thing is this, okay? The only difference between yes, Dee Dee, shout out to Dee Dee. Dee Dee said, at least Rosie O'Donnell kept her word. Hey, and shout out to Dee Dee. Let me have shout out to Dee Dee. Dee Dee said, at least Rosie O'Donnell kept her word. And shout out to Dee Dee. And Eula's sister says, I'm doing okay. That's great. And I want people to understand that, right? Yes, you can keep your word, but think about people who are still being affected, right? Even right now, we are going into a shutdown. Everybody cannot afford to just pack up and move. Pack up and move. Everybody can't afford that. So how is it you feel that you can be a representation for the LGBTQIA plus community? I'm going to call them out. How can you be a representation for the quote unquote black community? How can you be a representation for even the Jewish community, the Caucasian community? I'm calling all these communities out, everybody, right? Because I see a number of people are so upset, and what it is appearing to look like you're upset at the wrong person. And why do I say this? Because there has been a number of funding being mishandled prior to Donald Trump. Number of funding mishandled. Okay? I want people to understand that. And when it comes down to these tariffs, right? The only thing I will say with this, when it comes down to these tariffs, these tariffs are just, it's going on too much. Eula's sister says, I'd forgotten about her, Rosie O'Donnell. And see, that is why I feel that if Rosie O'Donnell, and I don't want to put too much on her, but I got to call it for what it is. If Rosie O'Donnell would feel so strong about her views, okay, on topics, why did she leave? Because even when it comes down to the tariffs, shout out to Bree 890 says tariffs are a tax on Americans. And see, this is why I want people to understand this, okay? And shout out to Bree. It affects everybody. And these tariffs, especially these retaliatory tariffs that are going on, it is affecting the Americans. It is definitely affecting the Canadians, definitely affecting Mexico. Why do I say this? Because now I said it before, now we're in a tariff war. That's what we are right now. We're in a tariff war. And when it comes down to Ukraine and Russia, like I stated, Russia, even after an 8-hour meeting, Mark Rubio, bless his soul, had an 8-hour meeting in Saudi Arabia for Ukraine officials to finally say, okay, yes, we will agree to at least a 30-day temporary ceasefire. What is Putin's response, right? Putin's response is this. This is just letting you know when it comes down to people are being affected, right? Even after people's lives physically have been affected between Ukraine and Russia, right? And this is what Putin's response is. Now you have Ukraine say, yes, we're ceasing fire temporary. We're willing to do a 30-day temporary ceasefire. Putin's response, okay, this is what makes me question. This is what really makes me wonder. Is he going to follow through? Is he going to be at least in a position that he wants to, have a ending to this madness? Because I'm letting you guys know right now, prices are going to go up. Stocks are still going to be tumbling. But Putin, he did have a meeting. It wasn't with us. It wasn't with the United States official just yet. He's been making phone calls with President Trump, allegedly. But Putin, after meeting with Belarusian president, he did state that he was in favor of a 30-day ceasefire, but watch this. But he wants a long-term deal with security grants. Isn't that the same exact thing that President Zelensky said in Ukraine when he had a meeting with Donald Trump and the Vice President J.D. Vance when he came to the White House and got kicked out? Isn't that the same exact thing that the Ukraine president said? But my question is this, right? Nobody's coming at Russia giving Russia the same energy. They're not giving Russia the same energy. Okay? And let's call it for what it is. Let's call it for what it is. Okay? How does that apply with tariffs? Because it's all about what? It's all about goods. It's all about money. This is a money game. That's what it is. And at the end of the day, right, Ukraine and Russia have very valuable raw minerals, right? And that's the main reason Putin wants to get majority, if not all, of Ukraine. Because Ukraine, even after going through what it has been through, even after getting billions and billions of dollars of non-negotiated funds from the United States, as well as other countries, right? Ukraine is sitting on billions and billions of dollars worth of raw minerals. That's why I say it's a money game. Bree 890 says it's another way to move the tax burden from top to bottom. If you guys didn't know which way, if other countries put tariffs on the United States, it is a tax. If we put it on other countries. Now, that is why a lot of people are saying, and I will agree when it comes down to, we have to take a stand. We have to take a stand with letting these other countries know, enough is enough. But there's a way of doing things. I'm just saying. And why do I say this? Why do I say this? Because it's too many things going on all on at once. Why do I say that? Because here is our beloved president. He's consistently signing all these executive orders, and he's already stated there's going to be more tariffs to come. Now the stock market has dropped today. The stock market has been dropping. right? And when April the 2nd comes, well, we already know when it comes down to the auto companies, they will be affected. That's when they will be affected, because Donald Trump put a month pause on auto companies. And yes, I will agree, enough with the handouts. Enough with these handouts. Absolutely right. But remember what I said when I say this. I hope that the energy is given the same way when it comes down to, just like Braden said in the comments, why in regards to China has 700% tariff on the United States rice. Now, when it comes down to percentages, okay, I don't know about it being that high as far as 700 tariff on U.S. rice, right? That's very high, okay. But I will say this, okay? These tariffs, it is nobody's friend. I've said it before. I said it yesterday. It's nobody's friend. It's not. And thank you for coming in, Lisa. Lisa says Trump is flip-flopping. And Crane says she wants me in women's sports. Oh my goodness. This is why I don't understand what is it that Rosie O'Donnell stands on, Ellen DeGeneres stands on? Because you can be a member of the LGBTQIA plus community, right? You can be a member of that community, but still respect other people's values. And what do I mean with that? I'm gonna say my personal view on it. I don't think it's fair for someone who is biologically a male have access to the women's restroom. That's not fair. That's not fair. I don't think it's fair for somebody who's still biologically a male to play in the same arena sports as women's sports. I don't think that's fair. I think that's when we're getting a little bit disrespectful, because shout out to the women, because this is Women's Month. Donald Trump signed, he did sign a proclamation in regards to Women's Month for March, as well as this being, St. Patty's, right? So on that aspect, I can't support that part of it. My belief, what I believe in a man and a woman. Now, if you want to have your ideas as far as, okay, I want to, I feel like I want to be transgender. That's fine, right? I respect that. However, don't put your ideology and force it down into to something such as women's sports, women's restrooms, right? That's not fair. And this is why, and I'm standing on it. These are things and topics that I feel should not be the quote unquote focal point when it comes down to Department of Education, right? This is why here in America, the education is bad. It's like now you have to be very careful. How do you have conversations with children? Because children are coming from two-parent homes. Yes, some of them, maybe, but they're having two mothers, two fathers. Now it's a whole nother scheme conversation. And Thomas, what are you talking about when you say contradicting myself? Speak the truth, Thomas. What are you saying when you're saying contradiction? You have less than 5 minutes to explain yourself. No, I'm giving you less than 3 minutes, Thomas, when you say I'm contradicting myself, because I'm standing on what I said. I believe man and woman, right? But I welcome everybody when it comes down to what they believe in. But that doesn't mean I'm going to stand or support a transgender woman coming into a women's restroom around little girls. That's just calling it for what it is. That's just calling it for what it is. And like I stated, I welcome everybody. This is my platform, right? And I respect everybody's thoughts. But I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, it's contradiction. There's no contradiction. That is what it is. And for somebody to have made millions and millions of dollars from taxpayers and from Americans to abandon America just because they don't like what somebody says, that's weak. That's weak to me. That's not. That's very weak. Thomas says, I refuse to call him and she, and he's okay with it. Thomas says they're making St. Patrick's Day a Mexican holiday in Las Vegas this year. Do you think that's okay? You just get rid of. No, I didn't. No. Wait. Let's say this. Okay. I see where you're going with this, Tommy Shanley. Well, my whole thing is this. I don't believe in it, quote unquote, being, a white thing, as you're putting it. I don't believe in it being, quote unquote, a white thing, because I want people to understand this. Here in America, it is not majority white. It's not. And also, I want people to understand this: blacks are not the minority. They're not. I want people to understand that as well. Now, and hello, shout out to Decent Guy. Thank you for coming in, Thomas. I love you. I gave you time, Thomas, but it was nice meeting you, Thomas. It was really nice meeting you. And hello, Decent Guy. Thank you so much for coming in. Now, going back to the comments. Oh, thank you so much, Decent Guy. Decent Guy says you got a lot of followers. Oh, I'm just trying. I'm still trying to put in the work. Just the fact says a grape never protects women. Now, I will say this, okay? The Crane says, believe women. Jean Carroll is the victim of a 5 millionaire grape. And Narendra says, the minority is Diddy followed like me. Oh my goodness. We're getting out of the way. Okay, going back to what I said. What is going on here? Let me get back to the focal point. Focus. Okay, now, like I stated, when it comes down to where I stand on topics such as the transgender community, the LGBTQIA plus community, I will state this and I will stand on this. I welcome everybody, just like I don't pick sides when people ask me, well, what party are you? I will say this: I welcome everybody, Democrat, Republican, conservative, liberal. I welcome everybody. But long as we can agree to disagree and be respectful. And I'm not going to be something I'm not. I'm not going to change myself. I can't do that. I can't. And I really feel this. This is some of the reason when it comes down to people are upset with the way President Donald Trump talks, because people know how he is. He's never changed. This is the way he's been. He's been this for decades, the way he talks. 75 million people voted for him. They did. They voted for him to come back a second term. So why now is it a problem? Tell me that. Why now is it a problem? Right? And it's kind of odd to me that people are so fast to point out, all these convictions and felonies that Donald Trump has, but people have to take this into perspective. Okay? By midnight, this Friday, coming up midnight, in a few hours, if we do not have a decision made by the House of Senate, we're going to have a shutdown. Those are facts. And when it comes down to Rosie O'Donnell, I hope she has the best time in Ireland with her beautiful life, beautiful family, right? But at the end of the day, I want people to remember this. Okay? If you still live here in America, ask yourself this. What is the House of Representatives doing for you? What is the House of Senate doing for you? How are they helping you? How are they being a voice for you? Because Rosie O'Donnell has said, I don't care about you. If she cared, she would have never left America. If Ellen DeGeneres cared, she would have never left America. And even when it comes down to Michelle Obama, now her and her brother want to have a podcast together. It's very convenient that they talk about it, mentioning the podcast, and even start their podcast the month of Women's Month. That's very ironic. But it's even more ironic to me, right? On her podcast, she wants to talk about her husband, former President Barack Obama. If people are really sit back and look at the whole thing, and this is the thing, people want Michelle Obama to run for president, right? That should tell everyone just how divided the Democrats and Republicans are, and how Democrats can't even get together and be the voice that they say they are. Why? Because out of all of the politicians in the House of Representatives, in the House of Senate, the only people that they can say is should be a representative to be running for president for the Democrat Party is Michelle Obama? Really? And prior to Michelle Obama, wait a minute, Governor Newsom? Come on now. Come on. I'm just calling it for what it is. But I feel with Michelle Obama, yes, she's very vocal. Yes, she's a very vocal person. I do respect her. However, it said a lot. When she has not been seen. She didn't stand by her husband's side during Jimmy Carter's funeral. She didn't stand by his side. She didn't show up. And then when she finally shows up, reappears, now she has a podcast with her brother. And the first episode of her podcast, she talks about, quote unquote, well, Barack, he knows not to be late. I don't like people coming late or running late, being on time, and having these type of conversations while stocks are going down. Thousands of federal employees have been laid off. Thousands. Farmers can't even afford to keep up their farm. They have lost millions. And the only thing she decides to talk about to start a conversation is things about her marriage life. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I don't get it. And this is why I have the name of this video right now. Okay? And I hope that more people answer the question that I have in this live stream poll. Will there be peace? Because I'm telling you right now, me personally, I don't care that you want to be on time. You want your husband to get up and be on time with you to go places. I don't care about that. My concern are my bills. My concern are these prices when I go to the grocery store. Those are my concerns. My concern is my insurance. Those are my concerns. And Cook, thank you for coming in. Shout out to Cook. Quiller Cook says, can you tell me what those government employees were doing? Nothing. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Well, according to Donald Trump, and they asked him this recently, this week in a press conference, they asked him, to see if he had any compassion, as they would say. Does he have compassion? Right? But I want people to understand this. When it comes down to compassion, where was the compassion for a lot of veterans that are still homeless prior to Donald Trump coming in? Where was this compassion? Right? Where was this compassion when it comes down to a number of children not even knowing how to read or write here in America? And for those who are just coming in, I did talk about a 19-year-old lady who graduated. She graduated high school, okay? Not knowing how to read or write. And this is now here in America. And she's now suing the school system here in America. And guess where it hit her when she went to college? Because she actually tried to go to college, but now it's like everything that she was supposed to have been taught as far as reading, writing goes, she's starting all over. So when it comes down to people saying, oh, where's the compassion? I want people to understand there was a lot of people, quote unquote, not doing their job. They wasn't doing the job. And I even gave you another example, even here on YouTube, right? I'm not going to say the YouTuber's name, but he's kind of known. I'm not going to say known, but he's popular. He's a little bit popular, right? He's a monetized content creator. He's been making money off of YouTube, and he posted a video saying, I got fired as a federal employee. Now, I want that to sink in because I watched this video, right? He says he's a veteran. Oh, okay. So now you was getting prior to you getting fired, you were getting 3 checks. You were getting 3 checks. So people have to really kind of sit back and look at how, in my opinion, I'm not saying everybody. It's some people that did not deserve to get quote unquote laid off. I completely concur, absolutely concur, right? It's not fair. But what's even more not fair, that you had thousands of other people just hustling, and not really quote unquote working. So those are my personal thoughts. Those are my personal views. Those are my personal opinion on things. And when it comes down to these tariffs, is it too much? At one time, yes, it's too much. It's a little too much. Eula's sister says, how she get in? Oh, okay. When it comes down to the girl that I'm speaking about, and I want to get her name. I want to make sure I get her name, because they asked her, even with how she passed her test, you can't make this up, right? When it comes down to the 19-year-old girl or woman that finished high school, graduated, still doesn't know how to read or write. She said it was more students in her classes that were like her. And the way they treated them, they would put them in a corner to themselves. They would put them in a corner. And when it came down to doing assignments, shout out to our phones, shout out to this high technology. She showed that she would take pictures of the book, the words in the book, and it would translate it for her. It would actually, she had apps that would show her how that would show her convert it from English to Spanish for her to understand. And then apps to help do her assignments. This is where we are right now here when it comes down to our Department of Education, when it comes down to some of these employees that work in the government, that work in certain in systems, I'll say it that way. But it is people that are going through the cracks. They're going through the cracks and still coming up short. Kev Nash says it's a Kev Nash, thank you for coming in. Says was here when you hid Thomas Stanley. Yes, I had to hide him, Kev. You know I had to hide him, Kev Nash. And thank you for coming in. And guys, hit that like button. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Shout out to Red Rooms. If you would like, you can support the channel by providing a super sticker. And thank you guys for coming in. Decent Guy says, no peace. Nicholas, thank you, Nicholas. Nicholas says, Canada 51st state. Wait a minute. Now, see, I don't know about all of that, but it did. I will say this. Okay. And people can call me all the types what they want to call me, but I did not know. And shout out to Freddie. Thank you for coming in, Freddie. I did not know. Easy. You want to have all you want. Thank you so much for taking care of this person in the live. Thank you so much. I'm not going to say, look, thank you. Bye, Easy. Easy, if you say one more thing, Easy, that's all I need. Just give me one more thing. That's it. Yes. Now, and thank you, Kevnish. Like I said, now back to what I was talking about. Back to what I was talking about when it comes down to this education. We have a lot to do and work on for someone to go all the way through school and not know how to read or write. That says all. And to top it all off, it gets even more deeper. Eula, this girl's mother tried to go to her school and tell the principal, talk to the teachers, and beg them to help her daughter. But you know what? Even with her mother, she couldn't speak any English. And they come from Dominican. Why am I talking about this? Why am I speaking about this? Because when it comes down to even with Donald Trump himself, he has stated it, and even some of these Republicans, how is it we have so many immigrants coming in don't even know how to speak English? That's why he signed the executive order officially announcing English as the nation's what is I'm sorry English, the language, the English as the national language here in America. Because it makes no sense for a beautiful, dedicated woman to go all the way through school, elementary, middle school, high school, graduate from high school, to not still not know how to read English, how to write English. And shout out to Sly. Sly in the comments says, use an app. We couldn't use a calculator. And see, this is what I want people to understand. Like, when it comes down to our system here, it needs to be adjusted. It needs to be adjusted. Thank you. Shout out. Thank you, Joy. Thank you for handling business. And shout out to the mod team. Thank you, guys. Now, like I stated, we welcome everybody as long as you are respectful. You can be Republican, you can be Democrat, you can be transgender, you can be a man, you can be a woman, you can be whatever your dream or heart says, as long as you are respectful in the chat. And thank you guys for coming in. Narendra says, it's human nature that when you cannot counter an argument with facts or logic, you go on a personal tirade. So please refrain from such actions and put your views back up with facts. Shout out to Narendra. And thank you so much for coming in, you guys. Now, we have a long way to go. Yes, Decent Guy says people are just mad because you're speaking your mind. Exactly. I can only be myself. I cannot be nobody else. Eula's sister says, but he's talking about overhauling the Department of Education. Now, okay, this is true. This is true. But my thing is this, okay? What else is there to do other than put the education back to the states? Because just like I stated in another live, okay? Yes, when it comes down to the funding, there were billions and billions of dollars according to Department of Education, right? But when they signed it off and dispersed those funds out to different states, all of the schools, when it comes down to colleges, universities, primary school, secondary, high school, when it comes down to those institutions, that's when they did not get the funds that was dispersed by the Department of Education. So then where did the money go? That's why from that aspect, you can't have so many middlemen, because if you have so many middlemen in the mix, that's when money starts missing. Yeah, oh yes, and that's why I say now my prayers goes out to a number of federal, employees who were laid off, right? My prayers goes out to people who have been affected who should not have been affected, right? But remember that old saying, one bad apple spoils the whole bunch. It does. And I'm saying this time and time again, at this point, the numbers are not adding up. And when I say the numbers are not adding up, at the end of the day, it makes no sense for a number of factories here in America have moved to Mexico, China, Japan, India, all these places. They have moved. And now we're being charged. We're being charged. And our currency, our dollar itself, is not the same. It's not. So I say all of that to say, yes, something should have been done. I agree with the fact that a lot of things should have been done. However, I will state this. It's too much being done in such a small time by Donald Trump signing all these executive orders. Too much. Because right now, the stock market's dropping. You see it every day, 300 points, 800 points, 700 points down. Then to top it all off, right? Even when it comes down to the farmers, right? And I didn't even know this. I break it down when it comes down to even the farmers. When President Donald Trump froze, okay, caused a freeze when it came down to foreign aid from the USAID, okay, farmers were affected. And I didn't know. Because they were receiving contracts and funding through USAID. Why? Because they helped supplied products to these other countries. When it came down to soybeans, when it comes down to a number of products. Okay? I didn't know this. But because there was a freeze when it came down to that, farmers now are in a position they cannot find other ways to support their farm. At this point, reading the comments, Decent Guy says they can't stand a powerful black woman speaking her mind. You haven't even said anything controversial. Exactly. That's why I'm just like, what is it? What is the problem? And for anybody that comes on this platform, like I don't say anything. I don't use profanity. I don't get it. This channel welcomes everybody, but this is the same channel where I get all the heat. See, I think it is this. I gotta call it for what it is. I think people think that because I'm a woman during these times, I'm supposed to support a certain side and just not support nothing the Trump administration says. But how can I do that? How can I stand on that when there has been so much corruption prior to Donald Trump coming into office? How can I say that? There has even been corruption prior to Joe Biden. That's the whole reason we're in this tariff war right now. Because we've been signing free trade agreements with a number of countries. And now America is in $37 trillion of debt. That's where we are right now. Those are facts. Now, when it comes down to, like I stated, signing all these tariffs so fast, that's a lot going on. I will agree. It's a lot and too little short of time. I concur that is too much. Absolutely agree. But when will enough be enough? Decent Guy says farmers are dying in America. The average farm size decreases every year. The average age of farmers is growing and currently like 65 years old. Shout out to Decent Guy. Now, there was a story of a gentleman by the name of John By Jr. Okay. And one moment, you guys. One moment. Going to have a brief pause, a commercial for less than 5 minutes. One moment, you guys.
We hope the Russians' answer to that will also be yes. The president's been clear. He wants peace. And negotiations to end this conflict in a way that's enduring and sustainable to achieve. The Ukrainians today have expressed their willingness and readiness to do so immediately. We hope the Russians' answer to that will also be yes. The president's been clear; he wants peace. And
will there be peace?
There is a new sheriff in town.
Today we made an offer that the Ukrainians have accepted, which is to enter into a ceasefire and into immediate negotiations to end this conflict in a way that's enduring and sustainable to achieve. The Ukrainians today have expressed their willingness and readiness to do so immediately. We hope the Russians' answer to that will also be yes. The president's been clear; he wants peace. And
will there be peace?
There is a new sheriff in town.
Today we made an offer that the Ukrainians have accepted, which is to enter into a ceasefire.
Hello, you guys. Thank you for coming in. My apologies. Like I said, technical difficulties. Shout out to Narendra. And I'm not sure if I read this, but I'm going to read it just to make sure I read it. I don't know if I read it, but I'm going to read it. My apologies if I didn't read it in the beginning. But fair use copyright disclaimer under section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, commenting, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Politic Graham. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. And as of now, 44% says no, there will not be peace. Wow. Shout out to everybody that is participating in the live poll that I have up. And thank you guys for coming in. Now, I will say this. Back to, like I stated, there is a farmer by the name of John By Jr. Okay. And he says that he has drastically been affected by all of these tariffs that's going on, okay, here in America as a farmer himself. And his farm is in Southern Virginia, and he grows wheat, corn, and soybeans on over 1,000 acres of land, okay. And when it comes down to Mr. Jr., he said farmers rely on loans. Okay, they rely on loans from the government to assist them, to help them in harvesting their goods. But now they're having trouble doing it. Why? Because when it comes down to John By Jr., when it comes down to him, he said he was affected when the USAID was dismantled. He was affected. And when this program USAID was dismantled, prior to that, it brought over 200, millions, hundreds of millions of dollars to farmers. So now we're in a position where do the farmers go now? Where do they go? And that's what I mean when I say everything is being done so fast. Everything is being handled so fast, and it's all at once. Because now a number of departments have been dismantled. Number of lawsuits. The Democrats, they're going haywire with lawsuits and haywire. I'll say that much. Right? But it's so odd. Somebody like Senator Richard Blumenthal, who has a net worth allegedly over $100 million, why don't he help some of these farmers? Even with Nancy Pelosi sitting on hundreds of millions of dollars. These are Democrats. These are Democrats that say these are the same Democrats that saying, oh, Donald Trump, he doesn't care about you. These Republicans aren't looking out for you. But what about some of these Democrats? How is it that a farmer, I'll say it this way, how is it that a farmer has to depend on foreign aid? Because that's basically what USAID was, foreign aid to make a living here in America. Think about that. Think about that. But then on the same token, right, you have a president such as Donald Trump comes in and says, why don't we bring the companies, the businesses back here in America? Why don't we bring it back in? Now it's a problem. Does that make sense? Is that even making sense? People here in America have to survive off of government funding to deal with foreign aid. That's how they make a living. Does that make sense? Why not have government funding here to help deal with the system here in America? That's all I'm saying. Now, I'm all for, helping. Yes. Yes, helping. Yes. But when is enough going to be enough? Because look at President Ukraine Zelensky. President of Ukraine Zelensky, he's been getting billions of dollars from the United States as well as other countries, right? But he still want to come back to the United States and still receive aid without any quote unquote security behind it. Why? Because United States has been doing that. When is enough going to be enough? That's all I'm saying. And thank you guys for coming in. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, reading the comments. Scott says tariffs can have affected anybody, yet nobody's implemented them yet. Not until April the 2nd. So why is everybody talking about tariffs when they haven't been implemented yet? No, that's not true, Scott. They have some of the tariffs have been implemented. You can have a conversation. If you don't believe me, and I'm surprised you don't see it at the grocery store, you don't see it at the gas station. You don't see it? If the tariffs haven't been implemented, why are these countries doing retaliatory tariffs right now against the United States? So yes, some of these tariffs are enacted, have already started. That is why they're stating we are in a tariff war. So I want people to really sit back, and like I said, this is a place we welcome everybody. Look, if you want to call me out, educate me, and I educate you, right? But like I stated, what I will not allow is the disrespect. And all I ask is that you treat us all in this live with respect, just like I'm giving this live the respect. That's all. Now, it is sad that we had to get to this position where we're in a tariff war. But just like I stated in the previous live, right? This has been going on when it came down to China, when it came down to these other countries, right? Because I'm standing on this. I'm standing on it. No matter what happens, right? China is still going to have the upper hand over all the countries because China is the country where other countries are still depending on them. It is what it is. It is what it is. Yes, that's why. Look, you see, I took care of it, Narendra. Yes, this is what I have to go. That's why I always say this, right? I'm gonna move forward no matter what happens, no matter what people say. These are my views, and everything that I say, these are facts. I don't call people names. I don't disrespect because see, this is what happened even when it came down to Donald Trump and the Democrats. Democrats did all they could. They did all they could to try to get Donald Trump out. And even right now, you had Al Green stating, that he was going to start his articles of impeachment. Kiki says, has anyone thought about reducing the need for the outlandish amount of plastic we keep consuming as well? Shout out to Kiki. Songs, you don't have to spam that. We know that songs. you don't have to spam that. We all know about the felonies. You don't have to spam the live. But back to what Kiki had asked. Kiki said, has anyone thought about reducing the need for the outlandish amount of plastic we keep consuming as well? And that goes to, that's one thing. And shout out to Kiki. Thank you for, bringing it back. Right? See, these are topics that I wish, when it comes down to our House of Representatives, when it comes down to our House of Senate, would have had conversations like this prior to Donald Trump, right? Prior to Donald Trump. And thank you, Cannon. Cannon is coming in. Cannon says, deal maker. DJT will make everyone think they got the best deal. Now, and this is why I say, wait, question, Cannon. You say DJT. What do you mean when you say DJT? What do you mean? Maybe I should know. But back to like I'm reading the comments. Like Kiki had said, when it comes down to the plastic, yes, I mean, this is what people are saying when it comes down to, a number of, some people would say controversial, especially who do we have? Robert, part of the, one moment, you guys, hold on one moment.
That will also be yes. The president's been clear, he wants peace. And
will there be peace?
There is a new sheriff in town.
Today, we made an offer that the Ukrainians have accepted, which is to enter into a ceasefire and into immediate negotiations to end this conflict in a way that's enduring and sustainable to achieve. The Ukrainians today have expressed their willingness and readiness to do so immediately. We hope the Russians' answer to that will also be yes. The president's been clear, he wants peace. And
will there be peace?
There is a new sheriff in town.
Today, we made an offer that the Ukrainians have accepted, which is to enter into a
My apologies, you guys. I may have to end this live a little bit sooner than later. My apologies, you guys. Going into the comments. Love Top. Are you Kanye West in the live? Are you Kanye West or Diddy in the live? That's my question. Are you Diddy? Are you Diddy in the live? It's either you or Diddy. It's either Kanye West or Diddy is in the live as another person's name. I just want to just know. Help me understand that. Help me understand that. Okay? Hashtag no Diddy. Decent Guy says, why are they acting like you're so pro-Trump when you clearly just dealing with the situation like an adult, like a true American would? Absolutely. Like, people don't understand this. People just don't understand. And this is why I said I was going to just try to probably run it as a loop. Run it as a loop. Chip says Puff Daddy is in prison. How would you be asking? Because of someone in the live trying to be funny, Chip. That's why. That's why. Narendra says, we did not know that. Now we all can retire. Thank you for your enlightenment, love. Oh my goodness. It is the comments for me in the live. I promise you. Now I will do this. I will do this. I may let the live run a little bit. Hello, Junkyard. Yes, yes. You see what you see in the chat. It is very hot, and that's why I said I was gonna be on here a little bit. Okay, I really did. I'm trying to get back into being consistent. I'm trying to get back into being quote unquote consistent. And thank you guys for coming in. But like I stated, I may have to end the live a little bit sooner than later. And shout out to Cannon Sanders. Can you please respond if you're still in the live? What you meant with your comment? Are you talking about the stock? Are you talking about the stock? Can you please respond what you mean when in your comment? Deal breaker, the stock will make everyone think they got the best deal. Is that what you're talking about when you say DJT? Reading the comments. Yes, shout out to Junkyard. Thank you so much for coming in, Junkyard. Now, I will say this, when it comes down to what's been going on, my apologies. I will have to have another live because it's a lot going on my end. But let me make sure I talked about certain things though. Okay. Now, when it comes, I'll make it quick. When it comes down to, Cannon says everyone wants to deal with, yes. Everybody wants to be Trump's friend now. Yes. Everybody's calling Donald Trump. Even to the point where even with Elon Musk, if you guys have seen it, with the Tesla, Donald Trump held a press conference showing the different cars under Tesla, right? Held a press conference. And now it seems as if, people want to be Trump's friend now. Everybody wants to be his friend. Everybody wants to do business with him now, because if you can see moving forward what's been going on, right? Now people want to have conversations. Now, I will say this though. Even with that being said, I'm standing on this until Putin shows me otherwise and tells me otherwise. Okay? Putin, Russia, the president of Russia, Putin, he is only looking out for Putin. He's not looking out for nobody else. Okay? He's not. He's not. He don't care how much money you have. Because if it's not coming to Russia, it's not coming to him. He doesn't care. Okay? He's shown that. Oh, yeah. Decent Guy says you're pulling 10 times the amount of viewers. Oh Lord, I'm not gonna repeat that. Oh no, don't say that, Decent. No, don't say that, Decent. It's all love. It is all love. Junkyard, don't you be laughing. Don't laugh. No, like I say, when it comes down to this platform, okay, and maybe I want people to understand this. For me, right, this is a way it helps me grow as a person when it comes down to communicating, when it comes down to educating, when it comes down to knowing how to deal with bullies, right? And Shannon, when it comes down to people such as you, right? Don't delete her just yet. Don't do nothing just yet. Shannon, I will say this to people like you that constantly come into the live, that constantly, thank you for coming in, because you don't do anything but teach me to be a better person and move forward. So thank you, Shannon, because for me, I can't speak for you, Shannon. I actually read. I actually do my research. I don't bully people online. I don't talk about people, especially people that I don't know. And judging by how the times are right now in the real world, no matter where you live, no matter what country you're in, you are affected. So while you're bullying people, you should ask yourself, what is it that I'm doing to better myself? What is it that I'm doing to not only better myself, but to better my next door neighbor? But thank you, Shannon, for coming in. I am Stevenson, thank you so much. I am Stevenson says Russia should rebuild the damage they have done. This is between Russia and Ukraine. Go home, little Marco. And for those who don't know, when it comes down to Russia has been going back and forth when it comes down to Ukraine for decades prior to President Zelensky. Okay. Been going back and forth. Right. And this is why I say what I said when it comes down to I don't trust. I'm serious. I can't trust, because even after all Donald Trump has said and spoken up, and to the point where he is acting as a mediator between Ukraine and Russia, Russia still has not officially said they're going to cease fire. Still has not. Still is in the talks. Even after President of Ukraine Zelensky came over to America in the White House, had a press conference, okay, then went to Saudi Arabia, then prior to Saudi Arabia, then went to the UK, having all of these conversations with these delegates and officials. What has Putin done? Still, we are waiting for him. And that is why, if I were Donald Trump and I was Trump administration, have that same energy with Russia, because Russia is one not to be played with. Telling you that right now. It's not to be played with. Because let's just be honest. Who's to say, even after all this is said and done, when there's a ceasefire, right? And Donald Trump actually is given, has an agreement and is signed from Zelensky when it comes down to the raw minerals. Who's to say Russia won't come back? Who's to say Russia won't come back and try again? And thank you guys for coming in. Chip says, I stand with Ukraine. Shout out to Chips. And I will say this, I stand for us all. I stand for everybody. Because of what we have going on, especially in certain countries, even how people cannot even make a living on YouTube, depending on what country they live in. Just because of what country they live in. I don't think that's fair. Why can't people who live in certain countries have the same opportunities and freedoms that we have when it comes down to being blessed to at least have a YouTube channel? That's why I say I welcome all. I welcome all and I'm for all. And we have to be respectful. And thank you guys for coming in. Reading the comments. The Ranger says, what's up with the name calling? Yes, what's up with the name calling? Chip says, Shannon's in the process of having mega tears. Decent Guy says, as well, PG, she was gone so long, even Alan got worried. Yes, that's why I said, people don't know, that's why I said you can't judge a book by its cover. You can't judge me just because you hear my voice and you don't see me. Everybody's going through something. I don't care how much money you have, right? I don't care how old you are, how young you are. Nobody's perfect. Everybody goes through things, but it's how you move forward. Oh my God. Thank you so much, Narendra. Shout out to Narendra. Shout out to Red Rooms. Thank you so much. Yes. Hello, Cluster. Cluster says, have not seen your stream in a bit. Exactly. And this is why I say, I have, it's a lot of things I go through. But I will say this, for me, I stand on this. I don't like putting my burdens. I don't put my burdens on people. So with me in this live, in all the lives, all the videos, you've never seen me say, "Oh, I'm doing this. I'm going through this." Because even through the times that we are right now, right? I want to hear positive notes. I want to hear positive things go on. Right? So shout out to Cannon Sanders. Cannon Sanders says, bless. That's the word. That's the principle. Let me highlight that. And see, I was about to go. I'm like, look, I was about to go. Oh my God. I'm shaking. I'm shaking. Thank you guys for coming in. Shout out to Chips. Thank you guys for coming in. Shout out to Narendra. And yes, Cluster, thank you so much for coming in. Red Room says keep pushing. And have to highlight what Candace Sanders just said. Bless, that's the word, that's the principle. And I think people, forget that, especially during these times. And shout out to everybody. Thank you guys for coming in. Thank you so much. Now I will say this, I have not had anything to eat today like that. I haven't ate. So the live, I will come back tomorrow. I promise. Thank you guys so much. But I put in the work. And keep your prayers up, amongst, like, pray for yourself first, right? Pray for yourself and pray for others next. But thank you guys for coming in. And I will end the live with this. I might let the video just play, but If it is, it is. I'm gonna just let it run. But I would end the live as I always do with words of motivation and affirmation. Rule number one, eliminate the if, focus on the present. Rule number two, focus on self and not others. Rule number three, tell yourself, I will learn something new every day. Rule number four, tell yourself, I will not get upset at what I don't have control of. And last but not least, rule number five, advocate for yourself and speak up, because if you don't speak up, who will? And I have to say this, thank you so much. Shout out, and I got to give a big shout out to Junkyard. Junkyard, if you know, you know. You know why I say that. Junkyard, he or she, I'm not sure who, is it he or she, but they also was, giving me, strong words of wisdom, motivation, how to move forward way back in the past, way back. And thank you so much, you guys. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Red Room says, big up, sis. Let's go. Decent says, clap. Thank you guys so much.